Hi there, welcome back to my channel Scrap and Coffee, and welcome to part 2 of this tutorial for the journal set. So in the first part we've made the folio. As you can see, I've decorated it and I've also made the base, but I still need to show you how to construct the base. I will do that on a separate piece, but it's still a work in progress. But in this video I'm going to start with showing you where I'm going to put this. I'm going to make the actual journal signature. I always want to say insert, but it's a signature. And I just wanted to show you quickly what I'm going to do, and then I will also show you how I constructed the outside base. I hope the light in this video will be slightly better than in the first video. I turned my desk around to how it was in the past, but because in the first video the light was coming from the side and there was a lot of shadow, but I thought it was still okay to see everything, but it wasn't the best. So I hope it's better this time. I was in doubt in what I was going to do for my journal. I was out of any tea dyed or coffee dyed paper, but that's something that you can absolutely use. You can use your papers from the collection to make an insert, but I went online to Etsy and I found a journal kit that I thought worked in combination with the project. So this is from the Vagabond collection, and this as well. But what I found is from Victoria Design, and I will put a link down below in the description box to the actual kit that I've used. I believe it's called the Steampunk Journal Kit. I got it while they had a sale. I think I've paid between 3 and 4 Canadian dollars for it. So in US dollars that would be a little less, right? But what do you get? It's not a big kit. You get a cover sheet, and then there are 4 designs for the front of your page. So you get 4 designs that are labeled A and 4 designs that are labeled B, and you print that double-sided. So you get 4 pages. So I doubled that up a little bit, and what I also did is that because I didn't have any tea stained paper anymore, I used the inside cover, printed that double-sided, and made that pages as well. I think I will come to a total of 8 pages or something. So I kept it pretty thin, but you can make it as thick as you want, I guess. So I also wanted to show you that what you do is you print an A side on first. At least I printed that first. That prints to a certain size. Now I sized it down, and it was a gamble, but it worked out perfectly. All I did was when I open up the picture, just double click on the document. It opens up and I can select print. So maybe on your computer or on your software it works different, right? Or for your printer, I'm not sure. But I could do some basic settings in there. So I can say I want to have it printed in this orientation or in this orientation. I printed on regular printer paper in a letter size, and then I could also select the size of the photo. That's how it says in my so I could go for full size, which is a little bit bigger than this, and I could go for several things, but I wanted the size to be 8 by 10 inches, and that gives me this size, which comes down to 9 inches by 6 5/8, and that was pretty much perfect for my cover. So that was lucky for me that it was easy. And then I printed a B side on the back side, and your B side is like 1/2 inch larger than your A side. So I'm not sure how you can see that, but you have a 1/4 inch on all sides. So I can see that through the light if I hold it up, where the B side is larger on all 4 sides, like a 1/4 inch. So once you've printed it double-sided, you're gonna get your paper trimmer and cut on the A side, on the smaller side. So I just got it to size. And then I have my page double-sided printed. So just make sure that you do it in the right orientation. So I went wrong somewhere. I didn't realize until I've got it. So I've printed this one, which is actually the B side, I guess. But then when I turn it around, my script was upside down, right? This should be like that. So it took me a second try to get it right. But hey, we learn as we go, I guess. And then I cut this off as well. So all four sides. Get rid of this. And then what I did with folding is I guess it doesn't really matter, but like here I really have like a fold line, and here there's a little bit of a wider part in between. Let me see if I have a better example. Yeah, here as well. Like here, this would be like a folding line for me, and then here there's a little bit of space between the pages. So in this case I would fold it like that, where that space is going to end up on the outside. So for some pages that was really obvious, for others it didn't really matter, but that's how I looked at it. So I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to round the corners and ink my edges with vintage photo. And of course you can just you can leave it straight. You don't have to ink. You just use what you've got, right? Oh, that's the wrong side, I guess. So some ink on there, and then we can put the whole thing in order, all the pages in order. So even if you have this, or if you don't want to do this, you can also just use plain printer paper and just have white on the inside. It doesn't matter. You do what you like, the look that you are going for, and you use what you got and what your yeah. Do you have the opportunity to print? And just to be, you don't need a special printer for this. It prints on letter size or A4 size, and you can print it on regular printer paper. Only my cover, I've printed it on cardstock, on 65 pound weight cardstock, again on letter size. And but you don't have to do that. And I found that this was really easy to work with this digital product. Okay, so I've prepared a large part. Oh, by the way, what I wanted to say about the cover is, again, I sized that down to that 8x10. But when I've printed this was 5 inches, where my pages are 4.5. I found that was a little bit too large. So I cut down 1/4 inch here on the outside. But if you want to use this as your cover, I would open it up and then cut down 1/2 inch on this size, and then fold it in half, because this is no longer centered on here. So just a little tip there, what I've experienced. But I'm going to cover this up, so I don't mind. So let's see what I did. I think I can put it on the outside. I have this one twice in here. I just want to make sure that it's not too close together, but I think, yeah, it's the inside sheet, so I can just put it on the outside. That's all fine. Just make sure that it's in the right orientation. There's a little paper clip there on top, so we don't want to have that hanging on the bottom. So what I do is I fold them all in half individually and then place it all in there. I saw somebody that had a really nice tip to go with your ruler to get it really nice and tight, tucked in here. And then what I did, I just don't know where I left it. I hope I didn't throw, oh, here it is. I just got a piece of scrap cardstock. This is 1 1/4. I've scored it halfway, so in this case at 5/8 of an inch, and it's exactly the same height as my cover. So I believe it's just a hair over 6 5/8 of an inch. So what am I going to do with this piece? I'm sorry, I'm having a cup of coffee in the meantime. I have to manage my time. I cannot sit down, have a cup of coffee, and then have also time to film. I need to, well, it's not really, how do you say that? multitasking, right? But I'm going to fold it in half over the length. That's going to mark the middle, right? The center of the length. And then I can fold it in half again, but because it's pretty thick cardstock, I'm going to open it up and then fold my bottom towards that center fold line that I've just made. Burnish that and do the same thing from the top. I'm just turning it around because it works a little easier for me. And then I have the score line in the middle already, right? So let's fold on that one. And then I get 3 intersections of fold lines, and that is where I'm going to punch my holes, and they are nice and even spread out. You can also just eyeball it, measure it out, whatever works for you. Let me get a, do I still have that here? I still had it in my drawer. Okay, so let's punch those holes with my very dirty, sticky paper piercer. There we go. So these holes, we want to have them in here, right? So this is going to be my guide. So again, and I have to do this a little, normally I would use a large book to do this. I think I've shown it somewhere in a project before. I have a really large study book that I use to punch holes, but I don't have that available to me at this moment, so we need to do it without. Okay, I'm going to try to get this really nice and tight in that fold, and then you can use whatever clip or paper clip or something that you have to keep that tightly in place. I really hope everything is nicely in frame, because I know sometimes I just go out of frame or pull it up and then the camera is no longer focused, so I'm sorry if that is happening. So I'm just using stuff that I still have for grabs here. And then I'm going to place this one in that center. Try to line it up top to bottom as best as I can, and I need to hold this in place a little bit. So normally at this point I would place my signature in that book to make it really easy to go through the spine straight. But I hope this is going to work the way I want it to work. That's not bad. I'm pretty much on the spine here. So make sure that you go through all 3 of those, that they go all the way through the back. There are, by the way, lots of videos on YouTube that show you how to make a signature, right? But I just wanted to show you what I did, give you a complete product. Now normally, make sure that you don't rip anything. Normally I would bind my piece where I make the knot on the inside. I think this time I'm going to do it on the outside, and I'm really in doubt if I'm going to use black, because my whole piece is with a black base and this is the only thing that doesn't have any black in it. Or am I going to use this dark brown that goes... I think I'm going to go for black. I'm going to go for the safe choice, I guess. I kind of forget. I think I need about 2.5 to 3 times the length of the piece. Okay, let me see this. I don't like the black. This is how my mind works. Okay, I also have this one, but I found it too plain. I'm gonna go for this one. I hardly ever use these other colors. It's always black. Black, black, black. I don't need this anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna do 3 times the lengths, and I always measure very roughly. I just rather have too much than fall short, I guess. So this is 3 times the length, and then I even go a little lower just to be safe. And then I had to do really hard looking for a needle, but I found something. Luckily, I just don't know where I put my stuff. some of it. Like these needles, I don't use them often. I just don't know where I kept them. So if you want to have your ends, the knots on the inside, you go from the inside first. You would start like this, but I'm going to want to have the knot on the outside this time. So I'm going to start in the middle hole and I'm going to go from the outside, pull it all through. This is waxed thread. It sometimes is a little bit harder to work with, I find. I'm going to make sure that I have about this much space left, and you can place that under your clam or something, that might help. And then from the inside we go either to the top or to the bottom, back out. Try to tighten it up a little bit, but we can still do that later on. And then I go all the way to the bottom, so skip the middle one. Make sure that I go out here, and then we go back through the middle one outside. And I just want to make sure, try to not split your previous thread that's already through that hole. Now this end is going on the right hand side of the thread here, so I'm going to have my needle come up on the other side, on the left side of it. Remove the needle. I'm trying to keep that safe. And now I'm going to tighten everything up. See, this is more than enough length here, right? So 2.5 times the length is enough probably. So tighten it up without ripping your paper. And then make a little knot. So this one is in the middle and the other ones are on either side, so you're not over that middle thread. I just do a double knot, and then I think I'm just going to leave it hanging. I might do something with this later on, but for now I'm not. So this is binded now. We can remove these ones. And we have our signature. And like I said, I don't want to use this as my cover. So this is printed on a 65-pound weight cardstock, and I've used it because it gives me something here on the outside, but also on the inside. But I've got one of my pattern papers. This is the complete pattern. Well, I miss a piece there, right? But I still have the scrappies. To size to fit on here. I may need to cut it down a little hair more. No, I think it's fine. So my cover is 6 5/8, roughly, a little over, by 4 3/4. So I've got my piece here to 4 5/8 in width by just over 6.5. And rounded off the corners again and inked it with vintage photo. And I'm just going to stick this on here, and then I might cut this one to hide and stick it on here. But on the other side, why would I use that paper on there? I can use it for something else. So I think I'm just going, that's the only thing that I'm going to do here on the outside. And I'm going to do it with a little bit of double-sided tape and combination of double-sided tape and some wet glue. I don't want to warp the papers too much. And then I might embellish that a little bit more. I noticed that on the inside cover of the lifestyle collection, there are some labels, like I believe one of them says something with journal, so I might use that on it. Okay, so let's remove these tape backings. If you just want to do it with wet glue, it's fine. I'm combining it mostly because I need some wiggle time to get it straight, or just want to give me at least some room for error in the first place. And here there is no double-sided tape, so just fill that in. I just want my edges to have a nice stick, and that's why I also like the double-sided tape. And also it doesn't warp my papers as much. So okay, so again, make sure that I have it in the right orientation. there is a little bulk, so it might be a little harder to get it in place. So I just had my eye on the line here, just give myself an even border. And I also like to give a dry fit, so I kind of have an idea of how much border do I have, like a visual idea. So yes, you can also just make your cover out of pattern paper, but in this case the pattern paper was not big enough for it, so this is how I've worked around it. And you can also use some black or craft or white or whatever you have cardstock, right? It's also that would be perfect. You just cut a piece of cardstock to, let's say, 6 5/8 by 9 1/2, fold it in half, and you have a cover, and you just place your pattern paper on top of that, and you cover up the inside with something to make it a little bit more pretty. You would also have a cover, so however you want to do that. So this is basically done. I'm going to decorate this a little bit more, I guess. Maybe I will do some beads on here or something, that if I can find something. And this is just that you can work on later while you are doing your actual journaling. You can find lots of things on YouTube on to make some small pockets or things to put in your journal. And yeah, so basically what I did is I filled up my folio with stuff that I can use. I've got these books out of the paper collection to use, so I just have them in here for now, and they probably get a different place, but just things in here that you can grab and use in your actual journal later on. So this is my idea. Like, I filled it up with things that I can use in my journal, and I journal while let's say I'm going on a small trip. I would journal about the trip, maybe use some ephemera that I have in here, fill it up and do stuff, and then later on my pictures and all the things that I have of the trip will be combined. Some of them will go in the journal, and I can fill up my folio with all my photos, right? So I have that all, yeah, for use basically. So I'm going to put that in here. So this is my base. I still need to do my elastic cord, and then I'm basically done. I just want to make some more stuff to go in here, but decorate this a little bit more. But I haven't shown you how to make the base yet, so let's do that. Okay, for the base, in the meantime I first finished my coffee. You're gonna need a few pieces. This is going rather quickly, so it's not a whole lot of work. My pieces are prepared, and we are going to start with piece J in the cutting guide. I don't know if you noticed, but I totally skipped a letter in the alphabet, and it's not like I got rid of a piece. I just skipped a letter in the alphabet, because clearly I don't know my alphabet. So this is piece J. And then I did that skipping in the folio part. So here I just continue after the pieces of the folio. And this piece measures 7 1/4 by 11 3/4. And according to the cutting guide, you've scored this piece at 5 1/4 and 6 1/2 inches. And we're going to do the same thing as we did for our folio pieces. We're going to make that curved spine. So we're going to do some extra scoring. Trying to get rid of the little bit of a harsher light. So every 1/8 of an inch in between those two score lines, we are also going to score. And I go over 2 times. That's because this cardstock is pretty sturdy, but I also wanted to make it as easy as possible for myself to fold all those score lines. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing, because I have the scoreboard out right now, for my pieces K. So pieces K are scored at 1/2 inch and 1 1/8 of an inch, and also there you're going to score every 1/8 of an inch between the 1/2 inch and the 1 1/8 of an inch score line. So Okay, so you do that for both your pieces. I have some really crooked score lines there, but it's fine. Okay, back to piece J, because we're gonna start with folding here on every score line towards the bumpy side. It's a time-consuming task, but it needs to be done. Okay, just make sure for yourself that you really fold it on all the score lines. And then we have a larger curved spine here. And again, for these spines, I reinforced it with the tape. Where did I put it? With the repositionable fabric tape by 49 and mark it. I'm not going to do it now. I did the same thing as I did on the folio. So if you want to see what I did, I suggest you watch part 1 of this tutorial for the folio. The only difference is that this time I've used a 2.5 inch roll to make sure that I had enough coverage over this whole part. And that also means that your double-sided tape underneath there needs to be a little wider, right? So you just make sure that you give that enough coverage. And again, other options are Tyvek, packaging tape, or just leave it as it is. Then what I also did at this point, but you can also do it later on, is made the hole for my eyelet. So the eyelet goes on the spine this time. So you just find the center of the spine, which I believe is 5/8 of an inch. So that score line there is the center. And you measure the center from top to bottom, which should be at 3 5/8 from both sides. So that's right there. So you mark it. You need a big bite, right? If you want to do the eyelet. Make your hole, set your eyelet. I've used an eyelet with a washer to get a better finished look on the inside. I don't know how well you can see that. With a washer, and my elastic cord is going to go through, and I'm going to just tie a double knot here. I couldn't do it that way in the folio. Well, I could have done it. Then I should have done it on the spine, so that's an option. But by doing it on the back cover, I wanted to hide that a little bit better. So that's what you do if you do an eyelet. Other types of closure that you can use are no closure or magnets. You can just get an elastic thing that you can just take off completely. There are several options. Okay, so that's the preparation that you need to do on that piece. And then your 2 pieces K. You can also do one side first completely and then the other side, but I'm just going to attach both pieces K. For these pieces, you're gonna place your adhesive, so double-sided tape, wet glue, on the bumpy side of your piece between the cut edge and your 1/2 inch score line. And I'm using 1/4 inch tape here to save all my 3/8 inch tape. And I will taper that 1/2 inch part. So just make sure that you don't cut into your score line. Just cut with a little bit of an angle. It's basically to hide construction, so we don't have to be too precise. And then what I will do is I fold on that first 1/2 inch score line. Okay, I tried to get rid of that direct sunlight a little bit. So for both pieces, fold on your 1/2 inch score line. And I burnish with my fingers only. So back to your piece J. Make sure you're on the inside. The inside is facing you, that's what I need to say. And then piece K with the adhesive and the bumpy side of your score lines facing you. You're gonna place that behind it up to that first score line that we just folded on, that 1/2 inch score line. So you wanna place your cut edge here against that score line, but make sure that you don't go over. You want to see that score line after attaching. And I just hope the light is not making it too bad to see, but when I look up in my camera, I almost directly stare into the daylight. It's hurting my eyes, so I don't see very well on my camera right now what is happening. Okay, so I just line that up. You can do that however you prefer to do that. Give it a burnish, and then I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, but I like to turn my piece around. So what I did is I just removed the tape backing completely, and that's why I didn't burnish the score line with my bone folder yet. It's not as much folded. And then I have my hand on here, where I control that piece a little bit. Shoved it under it. Try to line it up. And find my score line. Guide it along the score line. And then slowly push it down, where it will make contact with the adhesive, and burnish it. And then again we have the very fun job of folding on all these score lines towards the bumpy side again. Okay, so I think I have them all. Finally, so again, you can reinforce these spines if you want to. In this case, you don't have to do the outside and the inside. What I did is I did the outside only, had about an inch overlapping on each side, folded that over towards the inside, and then that's fine because you're not going to see this inside spine when we are done. So now we can continue to our next pieces. It's under my mess. So you're gonna have 4 pieces L, and we're gonna make 2 sets. So 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, and we have 2 pieces M. So 1 on this side, 1 on that side. So I'm going to place that to the side for now, and we are going to work here. So your pieces L, they are going to form an accordion fold. On the dented side of the pieces, you have on the outside 2 half-inch parts, so a half-inch here and a half-inch here. On the dented side, so where your score line goes in the cardstock, I've placed my adhesive, my double-sided tape, between the cut edge and that score line. Again, this is 1/4 inch tape. Normally I would do 3/8 inch. I'm going to fold it place it on my desk where I can see the bumpy side of the score line, and I'm going to fold towards the bump on the score line that's most to the top. I'm going to fold on that, and I'm going to burnish that score line. Now I'm going to do something that might be a little bit confusing, but I try to explain. I open this back up, and again I'm going to fold on the middle score line towards the bump, but only burnish that slightly with my finger. Open it back up. Now I'm going to fold back on the score line most to the top, the one that we've already burnished with our bone folder, and now I can see the other 2 score lines here. So I've pre-folded on the middle one towards the bump. Now I will pull back on it towards the dented side, and then I have 1 more score line here. I can see the bump. I fold towards the bump, and now I'm going to get my bone folder and burnish this whole piece. So basically what I did is I've pre-folded this middle score line. I've pre-folded it towards the bumpy side before I fold on it towards the dented side, and for some reason that gives me a straighter piece in the end. So let me just tell you again what I did, and this is what it looks like when you folded it. So maybe I'm making it more of an issue thing than it is, but this is what I do. So I'm going to fold on the top one first towards the bump, and I burnish that fold. Open it up. I fold towards the bump on the middle score line, burnish with my fingers only, open it back up. Fold back on the top score line that we've burnished. Now pull back on the middle score line, burnish with my fingers again, and then my last fold towards the bump, and then burnish that piece completely. And there we go. Now what I will also do, and you can also do that before you fold, is taper the half inches where my tape is, just to get everything to fit nicely. Makes my life a little bit easier. So just slight angle, it doesn't have to be much. There we go. It's always fun. Am I the only one that finds these small pieces through the whole house everywhere? Drives me nuts. Okay, I'm going to open up piece K here. And I'm going to place my bone folder on it. And then I'm on my piece J right there. And because I don't know how well you can see the score lines, I have the cut edge of my piece J right here, and then the first score line of piece K that we've attached behind it. That's where I'm going to make this pencil mark. That's probably like a super crooked line here, but I hope you can see it a little bit better that way. I'm going to get my first piece L. And I'm going to fold on one of those 1/2 inch lines that we folded on. So this is the accordion fold, but I kind of open it up. And this folded edge, I'm going to line up here with the edge on the bottom. And I'm going to make sure that this side is basically lining up with the cut edge of piece J. But at least is bumped up against that score line here that I've marked with my pencil. And just, yeah, line that up. So I'm placing the corner down, and I know my hands are probably in the way of seeing what I'm doing, but I hope I just explained to you what I did. And give that a burnish. So, and then you can fold it down if you want to. And then I'm going with the other PC, again I'm just folding on one of those 1/2 inches. The folded edge will be lined up with the edge, and again the short side bumped up against that score line. And normally I would turn my piece, but let's do it a little sideways here, where I hope you can see what I'm doing. So just place that down. Okay, then we have our piece M. So let's do it before we fold this time. So you have 3 1/2 inch spaces, and on the outer 2 spaces on the dented side I've placed my tape. And those outer 1/2 inches I will taper again, just to make everything a little easier. And then on both score lines we can fold towards the bumpy side. And then before I'm going to stick anything down, excuse me, I'm going to see if it fits, because what I want is this piece to fit in between the score lines here. Yeah, in between those score lines. And also again, I'm going to bump it up against that score line that I've marked. So you have some 16th inch measurements for these pieces, because we need to make it all fit. So those 16th inch measurements are important. If you don't fit, if you go over your score line or it's a little bit tight, just cut a hair off on the sides, just to make sure that you do fit. And then if you want to, you can retaper, just as easy. That it doesn't come too precise, just make sure that you really fit, and you don't want to have too much space either. So okay, I think I'm just going to remove this tape backing completely. So you fold on one side, and that folded edge goes just above the score line of your piece L, and make sure that you bump it up against the score line here, the long score line. So just guide that piece. I'm staying away a little bit from the score line so you can still see my pencil mark, because my pencil mark is just before the score line. So you can see that this is what you want. You want to still see that after you've attached it, but you want to be as close to it as you can get it. Which, well, the light will catch that. Okay, so now I'm going to fold in the accordion fold of piece L. Fold it in, and you can do one side first. I'm going to peel back my tape back in here a little bit. And then I'm going to fold over piece M. I'm going to try to get this in frame, but I'm going to make sure that this stands up straight, fold over the last ½ inch, and then let my piece L come up where it makes contact with piece M. Try to get it as straight as you can and then pinch it with my finger a little bit. So that's one side, and then I will do the same thing on the other side. So I hold it down, then I make sure that my piece M is as straight as I can get it. When I think it's straight, I make contact with piece L and then pinch with my finger. And then we have all of that in place. And then what we are going to do is we are going to get this flap, fold it over all of this, and line up this cut edge here with the top of your piece L. So basically we're just going to pinch it like that and try to have our folded edge here line up with the cut edge of piece K, which is the most difficult part of all, but just try to get it as perfect as we can get it. Now, because it's a little bit tricky, what I'm going to do is I will remove all my tape backing, but I'm going to combine it with some wet glue. So I'm going to start on that side, that works easiest for me. But it might be that this is going to catch onto some tape on this side, and by using the wet glue I kind of give myself some time to lift it up and get it in place where I want it. So I want to cover up that double-sided tape a little bit, but the double-sided tape is making my life easy, because otherwise I would have to hold it in place until my glue dries, and now I don't have to do that. So I find it really easy to use your double-sided tape and combine it with wet glue in this case. So just hold it however works for you. I'm going to pull on my flap. You might need to pull a little bit. And just try to line up those edges. I like to hold it a little sideways for it. And then pinch on the fold and the cut edge to try to get that in place. And then don't wait too long. The tape will help you to keep it in place. Do the same thing here. And I tried it one time without the glue, the wet glue, and then it got stuck here. And if you just use that glue a little bit, you don't have that issue. So that is in place. I've pinched on it a little bit, but I'm not able to give a lot of pressure. So I'm going to place it upside down on my work surface. This is nice and flexible. And I'm going to go in with my bone folder to really make contact there. And then we've done it. We have that nice pocket here. That's nice and spacious. We have a nice finished look here. Because I've used 1/4 inch tape, I don't have a nice coverage all to the edge, but that's fine. But we also have a nice curved spine that goes with the look that I intend to go for. So I don't know how well you can see all of this, but I just like how it looks. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to turn it around, get my other pieces. I'm going to show you on camera, but I'm gonna go a little quicker. I'm never really quick, but quicker than I did the first side, basically. So I'm just tapering all my pieces, so that's prepared. And I just have to say this, I really enjoyed making this project because it's a little bit different, but I feel like it's completely functional. I don't know what it is for you, but often when I go on vacation, do you see what I just did? I didn't even pre-fold that. Often I go on vacation and I like to document a little bit of the things that I see. So I didn't pre-fold it here towards the bumpy side first, and this piece is crooked. That's why I do it. But I always like to write down the things that I've seen, the things that we did. Just document a little bit, so when you look back later and you see photos, you might even have something to go in, like, oh right, that was there, or that was when we did this. I do it often, but yeah, this would be a perfect way. And I think because it's small, it's perfect for a short trip, like a city trip or a long weekend away with friends or something like that. Okay, so let me mark that line again just to make it a little bit more visible. Oh, just broke my pencil. A little bit more visible. So maybe I will use this project in the near future. Who knows? I actually made a large journal that I haven't showed you yet. I've made it just before I got sick in March. I think I finished the base after I was sick, when I was recovering. It's a journal with a simple vintage weathered garden collection with 3 signatures in it, and I only have the base completed, nothing else. And I actually wanted to make it to document this year, but I think that's out of the window. So I'm hoping to use it for documenting my first period of time in Australia. I think that's also a really fun period to document. I don't have that from my time in Canada, and I kind of regret not doing it, so I think I'm gonna do that. So I might, in the future, when I work in it, I might show you some of it, but it's not really where I'm comfortable in, like, oh, I know what I'm doing here, so let me show you, let me put this on video. I'm basically also going onto YouTube to get ideas for how to work in my journal, or how to make all those little pockets or flips or folds for your journal, right? So we'll see in the future how that goes, if I can keep up with it. I hope that's straight, because I'm not able to see it from that angle as well as I want to see it. Okay, so that's stuck down. And then again, I'm going to add some wet glue so that I don't hate life in a few minutes. So you see, when you know what you're doing and you don't have to explain every step that you're doing, it goes pretty quick. And yes, you can make these pockets wider, like higher up, closer to the spine. Just remember, you need space to take out of the pocket whatever is in there. So here I'm not really able to line up my folded edge with the cut edge. That is what it is. Again, fold it over so I can burnish it. And then we have it. So these pockets, in my case, are 3 3/4, and you have about, let's measure that, 1.5 inches space between the pocket and the start of the spine, right? So this is what you get, again, yeah, like that. So yeah, in the first time that I saw it, I was like, not sure if I like that, but once it filled up, it looks better, right? It's not so distracting, I think. But yes, you can make it closer to the spine, but like I said, remember, you need to have the space to take stuff out. But if you want to do it, you just add, for example, say you want to have this to be 4 1/4, you add 1/2 inch to your measurement of piece K, that's the 4 7/8 inch measurement, so you add 1/2 inch to that. But you also need to add 1/2 inch to your length to your pieces L. The rest can stay the same. To give you options, right? So this is the base without the fabric tape, but that's how you construct it, and basically that's how you construct every piece for your journal set. You can make 2 folios to go in here, you can only make journal pieces to go in here, but I kind of like this combination. Right now this is pretty flat, but once you start filling this up, this is going to need more room, so that's why we also have a spacious pocket here. Yeah, so I really like how it's turning out. I'm going to finish up my piece and film a project share, which probably be the first video you will see from this project, but I'm excited that we are getting there. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and the project, and I just want to say thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye!